It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex.
Deep from the heart of Texas in the Remodel Revolution World Headquarters, I'm your host, Alex Guthrie, and I'm here with my mentor, the guy that got me started in broadcasting, for better or worse.
And you bought into
I believed everything he said, like I could keep doing it. My very good friend Chris Miles with Greencraft Builders. Homes? Builders. Homes. Okay.
Builders. Whatever you want it to be.
Builders of homes. Welcome to the show, Mr. Miles.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so glad I could get you in here off of your busy schedule.
And you survived what you said. You survived the Christmas party last night?
I did. One of the things that our friends, Chris and I have a lot of friends in all kinds of industries. And one of the things that they'll all be looking at this saying is, wow, you're still alive, both of you. Because, you can tell by looking at us that we've been rode hard. At any rate, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Alex Guthrie, and we're going to have a great show today. In a little while, we're going to be joined by Carolyn Blazovsky. I think I said that right.
How's that again?
Blazovsky?
Say that real fast 3 times.
Carolyn, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm really having a hard time with it. She is the healthy home expert. She is a nationally renowned expert in clean air, clean water, things like that, things in our homes. And she is really a fascinating lady. And so we'll have her on in a little bit. But first, Chris and I had a couple of things we were going to talk about. And one of the things that I think is really important if you've remodeled, or even particularly if you're building a new home, is that when you get to the end of the project, there's a few things that you need to take care of. I find a lot of times as a remodeler, I'm coming into a house that maybe someone just bought, or maybe they've not been in it very long, and I ask them for some information and they just don't have it because they didn't keep the record. So put this on your to-do list if you're finishing your project. And Chris will attest to this because, he doesn't get many callbacks for houses he builds, because he builds these high-performance houses. But boy, when they call him back, they're always mad. Why is that?
I didn't realize that. Maybe I need to go check my call
I'm just
log.
kidding. Chris has never had a call back.
Yeah.
So this is your things to do list at the completion of a project.
Now, not to interrupt you, but callbacks. Now, see, we're over taking care of some people's houses. They've been in it for a year. So rather than, give us a list of things that were wrong, they hired a home inspector.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the home
How long is the list?
It's not that long. Actually, the inspector took pictures and described things wrong. For instance, in my houses, we foam the bottom of the roof deck.
Yes.
So the attic is the same temperature as the.
So it's a completely controlled attic.
Yeah. So within 5 to 8 degrees of the house, which makes the air conditioning very efficient, and it just makes everything a lot cleaner. So one of the pictures was a duct running right next to the roof deck, and it was touching the insulation. And the guy goes, "This needs to be fixed because the ductwork is touching the insulation and it could reduce its efficiency."
But the ductwork is insulated.
Well, so was the attic. So my homeowner called and I said, about this this duct being next to the insulation, I don't think the inspector understands building science. And he goes, no, I don't think he does either.
But the thing that's fascinating about you is that you have been a kind of a cutting edge builder for many years. You built the first zero energy home in North Texas. And back then it was like a big science experiment, and that's why nobody would buy it, because it was a big science experiment and it took forever. You had to find the right scientists to buy the house because no one could figure out how to operate it.
I think it was a little intimidating because we had put so much stuff in there in the house so that when people, it had the wow factor. Mm-hmm. And so to buy the house and how do my floors operate? Your floors?
Everything's mechanical.
We had the radiant floor heating in there,
Right.
and we had all these different things in there, and it was a little.
Yeah, it was, but it was fun, and we still use, because what you did and the builder, you guys, everything y'all were doing was really. You were inventing it. You were going, let's just try this. Let's do this sort of energy efficiency, this sort of finish on the walls, all these things that were just totally out of the box. And so what the result of that is that now a lot of that's been incorporated into basic building science and really nationally. And so there's a lot to be said for that. So you have a lot of you're way ahead of where that home inspector would be for sure, because you've lived it.
Well, I think one of my things with home inspectors in reading his report, and it wasn't bad. It just I think that he should be a little bit more educated or trained into what he's actually looking at and
I agree. He should. Because he's not looking at something, he's looking at something more mainstream now.
Well, it's kind of like builders and remodelers. They don't require training. They don't have a license. And now you have home inspectors who are coming in and looking at people or looking at the work that builders or remodelers did to a particular house. And do they have the credentials to be looking at for somebody who doesn't
understand it? I mean, they don't know what they're looking at. I totally get it. And it's not a criticism of them. It's that the technology is moving so fast. It's staying kind of ahead of all of us, and we're having to all keep up with it. It's not only the technology, it's actually the codes are changing, the code requirements are changing, energy requirements, all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard for everybody to understand where they have to be. So that was a really long answer to number one. So get a list of them. So when you finish your project, first thing is, and your builder or contractor should provide this to you as kind of a matter of course, get a list of the vendors and the subcontractors that have supplied materials or labor on your house. Right?
True.
Good.
I'm trying to give shorter answers.
You're doing great too.
Thank you.
You're doing really good. Chris and I are used to doing a 2-hour radio show that made it was kind of like the Jerry Seinfeld show. Was there really a reason for it?
Yeah, I know. You never knew what was going to happen.
That's right. And so now we have to be a little more disciplined.
The new thing for me here is the video portion.
Yeah, you look.
See,
great.
I'm trying. You're taller than I am. Is your chair taller?
Yeah, I made them put a taller chair in for me.
That's what it is.
I also have a larger salt and pepper shaker at the table in the dining hall because I want to be the big dude, the boss, the man.
I see.
I want everybody to know.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I
saw it on
by
the news.
the size of your salt and pepper.
I saw on the news the other day
Yes.
that our esteemed president apparently has the largest salt and pepper shaker, and for some reason, it's an issue. Anyway,
Our esteemed president thinks that you have to flush toilets 10 or 15 times too.
Yeah, well, I don't know what he's eating. Okay, get copies of all warranties on materials. Okay, get copies of all warranties on materials, windows, doors, and the work that's been done. So you're going to have warranties on virtually everything in your house, all the materials. Now, there's sort of some standards to all of that, but let's say you did stucco work. You really want to know the warranty on that stucco work because there's different ways to do it, and stucco can be a big problem if it's not done right. You want to have all that information on file in your cabinet. Don't depend on someone else. Don't just kind of ignore it like someone else will take care of it if it becomes a problem. Really do a good filing system on all that. That's your appliances, your windows, your doors, your trim, your paint work, everything, particularly the finishes, because they all have different warranties. Also, you're going to have permits and inspection reports that have been accumulating during the course of the project. One of the first things that I find, and I'm sure you find too, is that we get to the end of the job and someone has taken the permit package that has all of that in it and chunked it. It's gone. Or we find it blowing across the yard.
Oh, that's already happened on the one I have going right now. It disappeared.
It's like they see it and they go, "Oh, wow, there's a sandwich bag."
Yeah. Or the wind's blowing 60 miles an hour and it's 3 blocks over.
Yeah, and so make a copy of it. Make a copy of the permit. Make a copy of the inspection. Take pictures of if they use colored tags, take pictures of all of them and keep them on file. And a lot of this is because if you decide to sell your house down the road, you want to have all of that for resale. A lot of realtors, well, new homeowners and some lending institutions will require that. Get an all bills paid affidavit from your builder. Your contractor, at the end of the job, should be able to provide you with an all bills paid affidavit that just simply states that they have paid all the invoices and all of the bills that have come in on that project. That's just to protect you from liens from subs. And I will warn you about this. Sometimes builders sometimes our subs don't pay their suppliers, and their suppliers will file the lien.
Tell me it's not true.
No, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's an amazing thing, but it happens.
Yes,
Yeah. So protect yourself. That's what that one's all about. Now, here's a cool little trick, because we all have these electronic calendars. They're all on our phones. Mark on your calendar 1 year from the day you wrote that last check to that contractor. 1 year. That's when one part of that warranty expires. Before that time expires, have him come out and do a walkthrough on the project. Just say come out and inspect everything. If you see problems, now this is a problem I've had several clients over the years. If you see problems, a crack or a leak or whatever, don't wait 6 months to call your contractor back. I know you maybe you're mad at them, maybe you don't want to ever see them again, but you've got a warranty period, so use it and call them back. If they don't know about it, they can't fix it, and the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to make them fix it. So,
well, I'd even suggest sending them an email, put it in writing.
Well, of course, yeah.
So that you have something to track.
And here's a trick. Particularly if you've built a new house, but I even do it on our remodels. We have the painter come back. Just figure the painter's going to come back once a year and just go at least over the outside of the house. Fix any caulk that's dried up where water may be getting in, any paint that looks like it might have a little peel going with it, little things like that. And if you do that, don't wait 5 years. Don't wait till you look at the house and go, well, we need a repaint. If you'll spend a little bit of money and let them go over it every year and freshen it up, you will save tons of money in the long run.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. For instance, the house that I'm doing right now, there's no brick.
Is it stucco?
No.
What is it?
It's all siding.
It's all siding.
Every bit of it.
But you use the good siding.
Use that fiber cement stuff.
Oh.
Hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we use in the
Stuff I
yeah.
don't like. Okay. Yeah. I don't like that stuff.
You don't like it?
Nah,
Why?
hate it.
Why?
Because
Because
it's harder to work with. But mostly because the people putting it up don't know how to put it up.
that's a true statement. So what do you like?
I like the LP Smart
Side.
I like it a lot. I like the warranty on it. It's a wood product, so it's easier to cut. It's easier for the people putting it up. So you actually treat it just like you have traditional wood products.
Yeah.
It's got a 50-year warranty. I know, of course, if you talk to the fiber cement guys, they'll tell you all the reasons that warranty's no good, and vice versa. They'll tell you that about the fiber cement. It's just choice, it's just, but for me, going in and retrofitting stuff, the smart side seems to really work good.
I've had very, very good success. We went with Hardy on this particular house because that's what the homeowner.
And there's nothing wrong
No,
with
no,
Hardy.
there's not.
I keep running into the carpenters don't follow the recommendations on how to install it, and it's a big problem.
They don't, and I think that the framer that I have that installed all the siding, he really knows what he's doing. And one of the biggest problems with carpenters or framers or whatever installing the Hardy is they don't set the pressure down on the nail gun, and so when they fire the nail gun,
it blows it out.
It will recess about this far into the Hardy, and water gets in there and starts deteriorating it.
Well, and it weakens it. So there's a lot of, I've had guys where they have gone up and taken finished nailers and nailed it up and I go, why'd you do it? Well, it was easier. We're going to take a quick break and we come back.
Actually, we have someone on the line, Alex. I think we should go straight to her.
Well, let's just do that. I think we've been sitting here bloviating about stuff when we've got a beautiful young lady waiting for us. How could we resist that? Let's welcome to the show, Carolyn Blazovsky. I said it. Did I say it right?
You did fantastic.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's great to see you. Carolyn is known as the healthy home expert. She's nationally renowned. She really focuses on indoor air quality, mold, ways to keep your house healthy on the inside. She has products. She has all kinds of great information. One of the things that I wanted to talk to Carolyn about today is clean water, because that's one of the things that she focuses on. So how are you this morning, Miss Carolyn? I'm going to stick with your first name because your last name, kind of gets me.
You'll never forget it, though, right?
No, I'll never forget it. I just won't be able to say it.
So everything's good. Happy holidays to everyone. It's almost that season.
Yeah.
To you as well, Carolyn.
To you as well.
Yeah. So, and this is a great time for everybody to get their homes sort of situated, and, we're closed up, we're indoors. So it's a great time to test and figure out, do I have a healthy home? Do I have a good setup? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So.
Can I, if I know Alex wants to go on to water, but as far as healthy home, as far as indoor air quality, what are you seeing is the most prevalent problem with homes today existing?
Yeah, it's everything, really. I mean, it used to be mold, right? Mold was the original thing that we were concerned about, and now it's gotten to be indoor air quality, volatile organics, building products, glyphosate, which is a big one that people hear about. Roundup has become an issue. People are testing for that. Dander, dust mites. So we really see this correlation between our environments and how we feel. So it's really important that people start to understand that we are in control of our health. And one of the first places we need to look is what we're surrounded with, what are our surroundings, what are we exposed to?
So when my wife's mad at me, I can just say, honey, maybe the air's not clean in the house. Go take. Like when I tell her to take a deep breath, she gets really mad at me. But now I can say, but Carolyn said the air's not clean.
That's
And
right.
that's
I love it. That's right.
Well, a lot of the things that you're describing, the biggest thing, at least down here in Texas, that seems to be an issue is humidity. And a lot of people don't watch the humidity levels in their house, which can contribute to dust
Absolutely.
mites, mold. I mean, you can go on and on.
That's right. That's
They'll
right.
they'll turn their air conditioner down to 65, 68 degrees, so they feel cooler, even though the problem is they just have too much humidity in the air. When we used to have a radio show, we had a lady, I never forgot that lady who called in and had the 2,500 square foot house. It was a 2-story house, and she goes, when I walk around, my carpets feel wet. That's not a good sign.
I think we told her to wear shoes.
That was pretty
It would have helped things. Yeah. So, Carolyn, what is the most prevalent? So this time, let's say this time of year. This time of year, you're bringing in Christmas trees.
That's right.
You're bringing in plants. All kinds of pretty red plants. You're bringing in boxes that have been traveling in trucks from China. What's the most prevalent thing? What's a good way for someone to prepare for all of that?
I think the best thing is if you're going to put up a real Christmas tree, do it for 2 weeks. So we know studies have shown us that if you leave a tree up longer than 2 weeks, you're going to have a lot of mold. So do that. If you're going to put up a real tree, make sure it stays up 2 weeks and you take it down. You're not leaving it up till February. And then also carbon, so when you have a lot of people in the house, you often get that tired feeling, and people often think, oh, it's just because I'm running around. It's the holidays. Well,
Turkey.
You really don't. Yeah, turkey, right? Turkey gets blamed a lot, but it's actually the air quality is poor. So open a window, ventilate. We breathe out a lot of carbon dioxide, and that level gets very high in the house, and that'll make you sleepy.
That's interesting, because you may have a fire going in the fireplace. You've got the heater
right.
running, and maybe you're not getting any good fresh air in there. But a bunch of family fights. Everybody's screaming at each other. I'm gonna take a nap.
some serious exhaling.
That's right. That's right. But the air quality gets really poor really fast. So open a window, have, just crack, ventilate a little bit, allow some fresh air in. It'll wake everybody up. You won't have that sleepy, groggy feeling. And that is because you have a lot of congestion, a lot of people, a lot of carbon dioxide being breathed out. So it just helps to ventilate. So that's a really good tip around the season, and, also with the mold with the tree.
Well, and then and if you have pets, and if you have, and of course it could be cold outside, it could be rainy out. There's all kinds of conditions that affect the indoor air quality, particularly if you have a bunch of people in the house. Maybe you're burning
That's right.
candles at the dining room.
Burning candles is one. You talk to you talk to people and they'll say, "Don't burn candles in your house." I had a guy who was an indoor air quality expert, and I had him speaking to an audience of probably 100 people. And the first thing he got up there and said, "If you have candles in your house, do not light them, throw them all out." And you saw the look on those people's faces, and they lost about 50% of the audience within about 10 minutes.
So, Carolyn, you have all sorts of devices that did you invent them or you sell them?
Yep. Some of them, I'm an entrepreneur and I invented the test kits. Yes. And then some of them were collaborations with other companies that we established. So, it's interesting what we can test for now. I mean, mold, dander, volatile organics, all of these things can be done through a doctor's office, or you can call us directly. We can assess your air very quickly, easily within 2 days. And then, where to make improvements, and we have consultations for you. So it's really amazing. We've just seen such a boom. This year has been incredibly busy for me. So, we're trying to get people to understand the relationship and be well at home.
Well, and people like Chris build these houses that don't, they're so tight. They're insulated. And of course, we've had a little debate for about 20 years now. I keep telling you, you're building them too tight. You need to let some air.
There are builders that give me a hard time that
Yeah.
say that is so wrong to build a house as tight. I build it as tight as I can possibly get it.
Are you bringing in fresh air though? Are you using a ventilation system?
Yes, yeah. We ventilate it typically about once every 4 hours. So
Okay,
a duct opens and we've got one duct running to the outside and it pulls it into the return air plenum.
Yep.
And it runs for about 10 minutes.
Because, now we have code requirements for how many times you get air exchange inside a house.
That's right. And I like to say there's benefits to both models, right? So I like to kind of combine. So when you're tightening that building envelope, you've got to bring in fresh air. But the important thing is, where is that fresh air coming from? Do you have access to actually fresh air outside? Some people don't. So when you live in a city or you live in a very busy metropolitan area, it might be a concern as to where we're going to ventilate from. So that's one issue. The other issue is when you tighten, we lose and we gain relative humidity. So with these houses that have become tighter, and we go back to this humidity issue, we're starting to see that you've got to include a dehumidification system on the home, because if you don't, then we start to see mold growth pretty rapidly, especially in the Northeast, the South. Drier areas, you can get away with it more, but up in the Northeast and especially, where you are too, you can't.
Well, and
So-
that's a prime way to control temperature as well.
Well, we're putting in thermostats now where they can monitor not only the temperature of the house, but the relative humidity of the house. So that if they're feeling uncomfortable, they can either adjust, because with these variable speed air conditioning systems, which we use 8-9 months out of the year, you can turn it down a little bit, but just for humidity issues, it doesn't necessarily cool the house down more.
It just makes it feel like you're not wearing a blanket.
But Carolyn makes it. You make a very good point, because people don't. We build these houses. The materials that we use in them, we don't use glues. Our cabinets are formaldehyde free. We look at everything we put into the house to make sure that it doesn't. There are no VOCs associated with it. No
Correct.
VOC paint, so on and so forth. But people don't realize that in their furnishings, in carpeting, there's so many things that they bring in there, and we don't know what they're going to, how they're going to furnish their house, and what kind of off-gassing they're going to get from the materials they bring in.
That's right. And, there's a lot of things, personal care products, everything that you bring into a home will have a volatile organic, from soap to cleaning products to personal care products, hair color, wine, alcohol. All of these things release VOCs. And so you could go into a completely green and healthy home that you've built. That's fantastic. And then you walk out sick because of something you did.
Yes, that's very true.
So let's spend a minute talking about Wawa.
Wow.
Because Wawa is a huge issue.
Really?
It is a huge issue. And it's a huge issue in clean water. Well, that's water. Wawa means water.
Wawa.
Okay, I
Wawa.
just wanted to make sure that I was getting, I was getting the right terminology down.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
He's getting to that age.
Yes.
He's late to the game.
He's always been late to the game.
I've always been late. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll stop at that. Tell me about your water testing kit and what your thoughts are on clean water, because it is becoming an issue, whether Chris believes me
Yes,
or not.
it is. And everyone should be testing every 3 years. I usually say 3 to 5. And unfortunately, people will say, well, I have public water. They test my water for me. But what you've seen is, like in Flint, Michigan, and other places as well, what you get at your location is not necessarily what leaves the plant. This water has to travel through piping. It can be old. You can have lead. You can have other contaminants in the water. Also, your chlorination byproduct, how close you are to the plant or away from a plant, determines how much chlorination you're getting in chlorination byproduct. And there was a report that went to the president in 2009, and they talked about causes of cancer and potential causes of cancer. And one was, of course, chlorination byproduct. So it's important to test your water to know how much of this byproduct you have, which is the breakdown of chlorination along the way, and to see, where you stand and if you need filtration. So that's very
And
important.
so that was my next question. So let's say you get a report you don't really like. Is your only real option filtration?
I really am very conservative when it comes to filtration. I want to see what other things are playing into effect in the water. So sometimes people say, well, I have high mineral content. Well, I'm okay with that because the softeners can actually soften your pipes and do more damage if they're not properly installed. And then also just over time, you don't want your pipes and things to soften. I'm not a big fan of softeners unless you really need it. And it's very rare you do. So, you need to look at the whole report and then see what you have and then make assessments. But yeah, filtration sometimes it just has to be because there's no other way to get around it.
How clean is water coming out of plastic bottles if you supplement your drinking water with purchased water?
Well, as you know, there's big problems with plasticizers and how they affect your endocrine system. The bigger piece is that a lot of these chemicals that we're finding in water and then also in manufacturing can alter how our hormones and endocrine system work. So, you're better off drinking out of something that's inert for sure.
I'm thinking glass bottles.
Yeah, glass.
Well, they've come out, they're saying that the water industry, plastic bottles, is one of the biggest farces on the public.
You know who came out with that? I read that. The beer company. Budweiser.
Right?
Budweiser came out with that study.
I would have thought Jim Beam or one of those other.
Jim Beam. A little early for Jim Beam.
Yeah, well,
Well, I don't know what time zone you're in, but
it's always happy hour somewhere, correct?
Carolyn, we have so enjoyed visiting with you. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. You're awesome. You're a wonderful
thanks,
lady,
guys.
and you're so smart. And we've got your website up so everybody can get to your website and look at your products, and they can contact you if they have a question about their house. And I really hope you'll come back and do more shows with us in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. And
Thank
if people
you.
have, if they have health issues, please, check your home and see what's going on there and get a really good assessment because it really can make you feel a lot better. Okay?
Thank you so much, and have
Thank
happy
you.
holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays,
Okay,
everyone.
Thank
Thanks, you too.
That was Carolyn Blazovsky
Woo-hoo.
with the healthy
Wow.
the healthy home expert. And I said it.
One woo before.
We're going to take a quick break and listen to a couple of our sponsors. We'll be right back. The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a Trane, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com today. Sometimes it's a question of do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by fly-by-night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415 at the first sign of trouble. Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com. It's really a privilege to have someone like Chris Miles here with me today. Chris has spent his really entire building time learning how to build a high-performance home. And what Chris and I grew up in an era and worked on houses that didn't even really have air conditioning when we were kids. We didn't have a whole lot of air conditioning. And so what happened was we started putting forced air into houses.
We didn't?
And, well, I didn't. And, well, we did. We opened a window. And,
It was cooler then.
when you, yeah. And so what happened was we started introducing forced air conditioning really in homes in probably the 70s when we really put a push on it. And we didn't know anything. Nobody really knew anything about it. They just wanted cold air in the house.
No, it was in the 60s.
Was it in the 60s? Okay.
And you know how I know that? We had, my parents had one of those ranch-style houses, and it had an air conditioner, and it used water. And it, you know how it runs the water down through the...
Yeah, swamp cooler.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't a swamp cooler.
Really?
It took water.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
because when as kids, we used to
Go
sit on
play.
the, we used to stand on the back of it, and when it would come on, we were in PT boats.
Man, you're old. I'll tell you. Well, I mean, but you're right, because Steve Lawton's dad started in the mid '60s. They started this, but anyway, here's my point. When we started forcing cool, moist air into houses not developed for it, several things started happening. We started having indoor air quality issues. We started having mold issues. And we started having these ginormous electric bills because when they started doing this, that
They weren't as efficient.
they weren't efficient.
Yeah.
And so the real focus became, how do you build an efficient house that you can run these systems in, stay comfortable, and afford it?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
so and that ultimately became building science. And so Chris, along with other people around the country, and Chris is nationally renowned. He goes to lots of events around the country and has really honed his craft and stays on top of it. And so it's really a privilege to have him here today. So I was going to talk to him today about fishing.
Okay, my time is up. I'll see y'all later.
I just wanted to find out if the fish were fine. So one of the things that we've learned about houses, we're not going to talk about fishing, so that's another show. One of the things that we've learned about houses, a term that I'm hearing more and more of, is thermal bridging. And thermal bridging is sort of the backbone of building science, of advanced building science. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's one part. I think that, with these new products that are coming out, thermal bridging is let's say you take a wall that's 8 feet and you've got studs every 2 feet. So in 8 feet, you've got, 3, 4 studs?
I can't count that well, but
Okay.
I trust you.
Well,
Yes.
so if you put insulation in that wall, and you're going to insulate it to, let's say, an R19, if you factor
Which
in...
would be like a 2x6 stud.
Right.
Okay.
And if you factor in the studs, because you're getting a certain amount of the heat can transfer through the studs.
Thermal bridging.
Thermal bridging.
Thermal bridging is essentially where the dynamic of where the outside temperature kind of thermally goes through the stud and affects radiates inside.
Mm-hmm.
So when the idea is that when you have lots of studs in a house or lots of whatever it is that's doing that, it's an accumulative effect on the inside of the house.
Well, in that 8-foot scenario where I said we were insulating that wall to an R19, by the time you factor in the studs, it might only be an R11 or an R12.
I get you.
And so a lot of the new products, for instance, the house that we're doing right now, we used a product from Huber called Zipwall. And the Zipwall is a 1/2-inch piece of OSB, which gives it the structural strength.
Which is sort of like, OSB is sort of like what we used to call fiberboard, or it's not fiberboard, but it's a
Or as one of the gurus in building science, he calls it wood.
was wood. Okay.
His particle board is wood chips that are all put together with some sort of a binder.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it is a 1-inch piece of foam.
Right.
So it's an 1.5 inch piece of sheathing. Well, the 1 inch of foam is an R6. So you put that on the outside, and then you spray your insulation on the inside. We use foam. The foam may be an R22, but by the time you account for the sheathing that you put on, you're almost up to an R30.
Well, and the thing is with the styrofoam backing on that OSB, it creates a thermal break between the stud and the outside.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so that stops that transfer of heat or cold.
Yes, it does.
Correct?
Yes. And the other thing that we're doing, I was telling you, this house that we're doing right now is all siding.
Mm-hmm.
So we put strips, 1x2 strips on the wall to attach the siding. So what you end up with is a
Little air gap behind them.
3/4 inch airspace
Mm-hmm.
for air to
Kind of circulate through.
circulate through
help
there. If
regulate.
you get any
Yeah.
kind of moisture back there, it dries it out,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps to make the house and your materials last a lot longer.
So the envelope of the house is really probably the most important part in a high performance house. Walls and the roof.
It's one of them. It's one.
So
of them.
you build this envelope that is like super insulated, super tight, nothing can get through it, and then you deal with the inside, which is the air quality portion of it.
Right. Right.
And that's what with our conversation with Carolyn and a lot of conversations we've had over the years deals with the idea, and this really started, Chris, as I recall, with commercial buildings, because commercial buildings started having problems with air quality.
Well, a good friend of mine down in Houston goes around and inspects high-rise and commercial buildings because the occupants or some of the workers are getting sick from whatever is polluting that particular building. And he stays really busy doing that.
I bet.
Yeah.
Probably from the insurance company.
But
So-
one thing I didn't, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, one thing I didn't get a chance to ask her when we were talking about indoor air quality is what does she recommend as far as filters to homeowners? In other words, if you're going out and you're selecting a filter, Steve Lawton did this years ago. He came to this was back in the 90s, and we'd only been on the air for a couple of years. And so Steve came in and he was going to do a demonstration on filters. So he brought 3 different filters, and one was, the only thing it would keep out is golf balls. So he brought,
The fiberglass, the weave.
yeah, the weave.
Yeah.
So he brought golf balls, he brought a small bag of gravel, and then he brought salt.
Yeah.
So he starts demonstrating that, the golf ball won't go through it. Well, it'd almost go through the weave. And then he got around to the pleated filters, and depending on the MERV rating on them, he did the sand, and a little bit got through, but not very much. And then he did the salt, and he would show the different filters. Well, the one that was the weave, and he poured the salt in, salt went all over that studio.
Well, here's the thing. And this is another comment about the evolution of this whole process
Right.
of building science. We didn't have any choices. There was a time when that was our choice. Our choice was basically a fiberglass filter, and for years, a metal filter with holes in it. I don't know what they thought they were filtering. But, you had filters you could wash out, and you had all this funky stuff. Now we're doing HEPA. Now you can go and you can buy a really good filter for your air conditioning system that will actually work, with a 1-inch filter that will actually work a whole lot better than you used to have to pay hundreds of dollars to get these things. And so there's a lot more options now than there used to be. We got a few minutes left. I want to talk to you about a couple of other quick things on your high performance houses. Are you using much solar, or do you design a house for solar if you're not actually going to put it in?
There's a program that that Building America, the DOE is doing, is called a zero energy ready home. In other words, you have to have it, you build it very tight so that it's extremely energy efficient, and then you pre-wire it for solar. The house we're building right now is going to be a net zero ready home. And it's so that the homeowners, whether it's when they move in or 5
Over
years,
time
we can add solar panels to it. And so the zero energy house that we did in 2004, and then I did one in 2009 up in Louisville, so that the homeowners can either add to it, but effectively what it does is it makes it so that in the fall, winter, and spring, you're generating more electricity with your solar panels than you're using off the grid.
So it's sort of an average where you're going to have a time of year when you're going to have a little electric bill, and you're going to have a time of year where you have no electric bill.
Right, exactly. So it's over the course, if you're doing a net zero home, it's over the course of a year. It's not a month to month thing.
Right. It's not like you'll never have another electric bill.
Right.
No, that's interesting to me. And so one of the things that I think we've learned over the years is one of the things that affects these houses a lot is landscaping. You have to, and if you're going to do a net zero house, if you can have the right shading and the right position of the house and that kind of thing, how does that affect it?
Well, I think landscaping is important, and trees and so on and so forth, with the exception if you're going to put solar panels on your roof. But the biggest thing is in the design. We design our houses so that they have an overhang, so that you're literally shading the exterior walls.
So you don't have to have I mean, the thing is, if you have solar panels, I guess the best idea is to plant bonsai trees around the outside.
These little tiny bonsai trees.
Little bonsai trees. So that
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I knew you guys were up to no good. Chris owns a bonsai tree farm, and so if you need a bonsai tree, give Chris a call.
Call me, and I'll get with Alex, and we'll figure out how to get a bonsai tree to you for your landscaping.
Oh man, it's been a lot of fun having you on today. Will you do this again?
It's been a long time. I've enjoyed it.
It's been too long. It
has been too long.
We're used to not having any limitations to our time, and we always have a whole lot more to talk about than we have time to talk about it. It's been a fantastic show today. We want to thank Carolyn Blazovsky, the healthy home expert. So much for coming on with us. I want to thank Chris Miles with Greencraft Builders. I want to thank Ziggy Becker. Did I say Ziggy? Ziggy Becker with On Air Media. He's our director, producer, cameraman, and sound engineer. And he also was vacuuming when I got here this morning. We want to thank On Air Media, who we really love, and of course our sponsors. Our sponsors, when you're watching the show and our sponsors come up, please call them. Please use them when you need them. They're here because they're super high quality people. That's why we have them. That's why we love them so much, and that's why they like us, because we are too. Also, if you're going to remodel your home, if you're going to build a new home or remodel, do an update, small or large, give us a call at Alex Guthrie Construction, 469-446-8508, or
Did you do that?
Send me an email. Yeah, I did that.
With the blue cabinets?
Yeah.
That's really, that's
It's really 80s.
Yeah.
My people keep telling me I need to update my website.
Duh. That gets your attention.
No, it does. It does. It's pretty outstanding. And she was a really fun lady. It was an outstanding project with a beautiful. And we did the whole house like that. Every room was different. Anyway, go to my website and go through the photographs, and you can find that house if you want. We can do the same thing for you. Anyway, give us a call or send me an email, alex@remodelrev.com or alex@alexguthrie.net. Be happy to answer your questions. I had some emails I didn't get to today. We'll get to them next week. We're signing off. It's been a great show. Have a good week. Until next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, this is Alex Guthrie. Hope you have a great week.
You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn. And watch the show anytime on YouTube.